We're good? Okay. I'd like to call to order the Town of East Troy Planning Commission for the month of April. I'd like the record to show that Commissioner Gordon and Commissioner Seeley have been excused. Tonight we have a couple things on the agenda. I'm not going to necessarily go over our rules because we don't have anything on the agenda that pertains to our split meeting format rules. First item on the agenda is review and approve the Planning Commission meeting minutes from March 15th. Did anybody see any issue with March minutes?
I move we approve those minutes.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a discussion for a procedural best practice for minute approval when there are no meetings for 1 month or more, being respectful of the applicant and the Walworth County zoning time constraints. Bill, if you want to lead the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And sorry for those with my back to you, but what I'm going to use as an example, it's a calendar for the month of March, and I'll identify the dates as I go through. So we're subject to open meetings, and so the meeting tonight is, of course, posted, and we follow Robert's Rules of Order, and we have a secretary recording minutes for us. So we work on a split format, so I'm going to use the month of what we actually did in the month of March and April as a standard approach, and then give some of the exceptions that might happen in our normal meetings. So we already know that we met on March 1st, and on March 1st, our first Wednesday meeting, we had, just for expediency's sake, we had a conditional use permit, and we had a air variance request. And we decided at that meeting that with our split format, we heard the information, there was some Q&A, and then we said we would schedule the second meeting for March 15th. Well, the town board met on the 13th, so I had no minutes or report to give to them. And so then we met, as I mentioned, we met on the 15th. Now on the 15th, I have approved minutes now from March 1st. So I have half of the month's approved minutes. Approved minutes are very important in terms of open meetings and a consensus on what you actually did. In addition, on the 15th, we made the decision to approve a conditional use request and to deny a variance. So that was completed. So the next action doesn't happen for us until our next meeting is April 5th. And on April 5th, we approve the minutes from March 15th. So now I have in hand 2 sets of approved minutes, and we also have recommendations to accept the conditional use permit and deny the variance. So then I can basically, at the next town board meeting on the 10th of April, I can report with confidence, having approved minutes, the conclusion of the group, which I will do, because tonight we also approved those second set of minutes. That being the case, what I'm impressed by the fact is literally the next day on the 11th, the clerk treasurer will send a notice to the county saying, we're done here. We due diligence, we're done. You know, we followed open meetings, we have approved minutes, the board heard, and the board presumably will agree with what we said. And then we just go on our merry way, the way we normally do business. So the question then arises, well, what if on March 1st, we would have gotten 2 items, one for a conditional use permit and the other for a variance, and we would have heard the information and we would have said, we've heard enough, we can act on that, let's act on that. And we did, let's say we would hypothetically have acted on it. Well, then as I mentioned, on the second Tuesday, the second Monday meeting at the Board of Health, you can tell me.
Town board.
Town board.
I keep going back to my other life. I would be sitting in front of the town board saying, the planning commission is advising you to approve the conditional use and deny the variance, but I'm working off of unofficial notes, unapproved notes. And the question really is, for our discussion purposes, is that appropriate? Does that meet the standards of proper direction to the town board? We're advising them, they're then gonna advise the county, and instead of a 6-week process in my first scenario, which is our normal time frame, this could abbreviate down to 2 weeks, and it's happened. I mean, we've done certified survey maps and lot adjustments and lines, and I think for the constituents, for the architects, for the builders, to make something last 6 weeks that could last 2 weeks, if at all possible, we should try and satisfy their needs while respecting the legal parameters of us as planning commissioners. And so, that's the predicament I find myself in. Now, it's not just our committee, our work commission, but there are other committees that are, the way they line up with the town board's second Monday meeting, they're sometimes in flux between, they don't have official approved minutes either. And yet, the town board only meets once a month, and that's when you get the business done. So we're grappling with what's the best practice, and one of the thoughts I've had is our votes they're generally unanimous. I don't see a lot of split votes. So if, unofficially, I would recommend the opinion that the planning commission approves of something on a 7-0 vote, the likelihood at the next planning commission meeting of 4 people changing their mind and turning it into a not recommending seems highly unlikely.
But your vote's already in the record. You can't necessarily come back and change it. If you said, well, I never said this or that, that's kind of a different story.
And also, we're approving minutes. So
Right.
That's a significant thing, because there could be something wrong with the minutes.
It could be.
I would think the thing to do would be to meet on that 15th, even if we approve stuff on the 1st, approve the minutes and
So,
adjourn.
so
It's possible.
I
That's
just
come up.
want to clarify, because I'm sensitive to that too. I think we all generally, we all get it. We don't want to unduly impede someone
A
from
month.
moving forward with a plan.
Yeah.
But so, in your example, just, because there's a lot of dates here.
Yep, right.
So, if we were to, like, using the calendar, so March 1st is when we met. So
Yes.
if we approved then, and then the town board meeting was when?
The
13th.
13th.
So at that point, you don't have approved minutes then.
Correct.
Okay, so that's not a 2-week, that wouldn't even be a 2-week process if you're waiting for approved minutes. So I think, the second example you provided is like, if we discuss on the 1st, decide on the 15th, and then I guess it would be approved today, which is what, the 5th? Then.
We
and then
still
the
wouldn't
next
have-
meeting- So that's the 6-week window, right?
Yes.
Because we're approving today. Is it 6 weeks either way though, if you wait for approved minutes?
Yes. So there's
Okay,
6 weeks. If you go 2 meetings, either way, it's 6 weeks.
So our current schedule, whether we decide in that initial meeting or the decision-making meeting, if we're waiting for approved minutes, doesn't impact the timeline. If we're waiting for,
It could be, something could be done in 2 weeks if at the first meeting we agree and I move forward with unofficial minutes.
okay, that's really sort of the question.
Yes, that is.
So here's my question. Since we have video, audio, we have everything. To me, minutes are kind of more of a formality.
Yep.
Like,
If anybody really was like, you know, I literally in my time once has there ever been any change to the minutes, and it wasn't a significant change. It was more of a
Type, so.
yeah, it was more of a typo or a punctuation or whatever. And I'm not trying to mean the. So I guess I sort of feel unofficial minutes are probably okay with all the other documentation we have
Yeah.
of it. And I'm not speaking for anybody else here. I guess that's kind of my take. When maybe there was no video and not even any audio, minutes were the only way for any constituency to know what we talked about or to document what we talked about.
yeah, I don't think any of us are lawyers by trade.
No,
And
no, sir.
I agree, but I do think, like Robert's Rules of Order, there are parliamentary procedures
Mhm.
to reopen the last meeting and
Yes.
bring something back to a different vote. But
Yes.
then with that, all we're really doing is making a recommendation to the town board. So it's not a, you know, the town has
The
the,
town makes the final decision.
yeah, so in gen.
Which is still a recommendation again to
Yeah.
Walworth County.
Town.
Two advisory
Does whatever they
steps
want.
to the county.
Yeah, right.
I mean, 'cause we
Yeah,
approve-
I suppose the town is signing off, the town, it's a little bit more, I think, than a recommendation, because they might be approving per town ordinance some, you know, some stipulation.
Yeah, 'cause we've had it where we approve
Yes.
something, and then the town brought it back to us and rethink it or
I want to say only one time has the town board not gone with our recommendation.
Does the county wait for approved minutes before they act on a town decision or recommendation? Or does that come up?
They don't necessarily get minutes because we send our recommendation through. It's not the minutes. It's a. Is it a whereas? What's the
So they're not necessarily.
whatever that is?
They're getting, they're
resolution.
getting from
Getting
the
it that next
town board. Yes, Kim, it's a format. Kim sends something saying the town board has now approved this conditional use and denied this variance.
I have
It's
to
it's
draft
more of
the
a form
resolution
than,
The resolution. Yes.
right after the board meeting, and then Kim has to approve and sign it, and then I send that to the county.
and they value it. In
They
general,
do.
I think they value it.
They've probably gone against us more than the town board has gone against us, but they definitely do. Obviously, or they wouldn't be sending them back like, hey, you can't come before us. You haven't gone to the town of East Troy yet. So
So today we wait for the approved minutes before the town acts?
No.
No.
Today I have, and I've been a little, actually I'm celebrating my first year as a supervisor now, and I've gone like 10 times now to the town board and explained what we did. And in general, the town board is extremely appreciative of what Jen's been doing in terms of reports and the formatting of it. Apparently, it was never that detailed before, or as clear as to what the discussion was, who discussed, what the conclusion of the discussion was. They very much appreciate that, because in general, the town board is hearing the planning commission report about 2 hours into 3.5 hour meetings. And they're looking for concise information.
sure.
So could something like in this format be prepared for that town board meeting? It's unapproved minutes, but could the unapproved minutes be provided in time?
Yes,
And again, not
And
being a
call upon
lawyer,
inform.
could she just email those around? You know, we may still have to act on it in session, but is that maybe an extra step where, yep, I looked it over, I didn't see anything.
no,
No.
emphatically no, because
Okay.
again, this is an open meeting, so anybody could be sitting here. And therefore, if we were just to do it by email.
I'm not saying just email, but when she gets
Or
this
even try to
draft
do
done.
email.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then we'd still act on it in our next meeting.
Yeah,
Next
because
meeting.
like if someone in that scenario, let's say you did object or have an edit, that has to be.
In an open meeting,
Right.
discussion, right, okay.
And then there would be the notice of a quorum, because it would be an email quorum and.
Oh, that's true. Even an email quorum, that's a thing, I suppose.
It's
All
a
right,
thing.
okay.
One of the thoughts I've had is in terms of getting clarity to this is to ask the town attorney, just to say, this is what we do, this is how it works. Is that enough? Is that good enough? Or should we, regardless of whether or not we have any agenda items, we will meet to approve, if it's only to approve the minutes from 2 weeks earlier. That adds a travel and a meeting to everybody's life, and if it's not needed, well, then we might not have to.
I don't see that as big a deal for me to pop in here for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Approved or not approved, change. But it doesn't help because again, in your example on the 1st, town board met on the 13th and we would approve them on the 15th.
Right.
They'd still have to wait till April.
Yes.
It's all still
Fifth.
staggered.
Yeah, because we're staggered.
Yeah.
I guess I've never had an issue with this I don't even know how long I've been on the town board. 15, 20 years.
That's good to hear.
Or not town board, planning commission. And I'm not downplaying it. I'm just, is this a solution looking for a problem?
Well, it's
Or is it more of a
there's just
CYA?
It's a discussion point right now. Open, transparent government, following rules that are established. Now, not only so when I ask Jim Mills a question, in general, it's a town supervisor asking, so you get a written response, and there's a fee for service. Jim's very reasonably, fees are reasonable, and I think it's a reasonable question to ask the town attorney. Another asset that I have as your supervisor is the Wisconsin Town Association.
Oh,
They have at least 2, if not 3 attorneys on staff. And I could ask them that question. Generally I ask them my legal questions first because they're free.
yeah.
So I think that would be direction. The third direction I was thinking of, if this is Robert's Rules related, if we had access to a parliamentarian, we could ask them as far as official versus unofficial minutes and how that can play into decision.
I would think this challenge, trying to keep things moving forward as expeditiously as possible to, for the applicant's benefit, the town's benefit. It's not a unique challenge to our town.
Sure.
I would
Correct.
hope that
I
the
wouldn't
town
think so.
association would have some guidance.
Yeah. Meeting once a month is tricky.
And if the town board was 1 week later,
Mm-hmm.
then you could do your 2 meetings and it would be approved before the meeting.
Yeah.
But it's
But
been
they
like
would
this for
still
years.
miss the county meeting because the county meeting is the Thursday after.
Thursday after
the
the
town-
town meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, say so.
so without
You
approving
can't.
it at the first one, we're really not able to expedite
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Do we tend to get a lot of complaints around the general duration from plan commission
Sure,
approvals?
people get
through
frustrated.
council?
6 weeks.
I-
I think there's an
Probably yes,
underlying yes to that.
Mhm.
And partially is sometimes the individuals start at the county
Mhm.
and they
Right.
come back, so they're already
Right.
mad and they come back to us.
So, I mean, I had gone through this, I had to, 15 years ago now, I had to get, I had to do a zoning request through or a lot line adjustment. I had to get that all the way through the county and then I had to come back to do something else.
Right.
Okay, and I had an extraterritorial on top of that. There's just, in those circumstances, there's just no way you can get that done in like less than a year, for example.
Right.
So, some of these things, it's just, I don't know what we as a plan commission can necessarily do to speed things along more than, like, so in your example, if you're going with unapproved minutes, I mean, it's an action on the, a plan commission action potentially on the 1st or the 15th, town early the following month. That's about as quick as I think you can get done.
The earliest the town board could ever meet would be on the 8th of a month. That would be the second Monday
Second
of
Monday.
any month. That's the
Right.
earliest. We could still precede that with the first Wednesday. We could unofficially approve all kinds of actions and Jen has done this in the past, literally walk into the office the next day and say, Kim, here are our unofficial minutes, put them on the packet, and that something could happen in 6 days. Best case. 2 weeks, yeah, I've seen it. I've seen us do it.
I mean, our format obviously is the split meeting format. Again, it's not by ordinance.
You could do it opposite, I mean, you could do it like the 22nd be your first meeting, and then your approval would be the first, and then it would all come into the 13th in the county.
But then if we did that though, if we were to go to the second meeting, you know, if it goes to a decision-making meeting, then we still would have to wait
To approve.
to pass that, to approve the minutes again.
What I think is beneficial to the current structure is with this, we have the benefit of the split meeting format, which I think oftentimes benefits the applicant so that we.
Because we have the ability of making the decision that night.
Yep,
Yeah.
and it benefits them further in the event that maybe their application's insufficient or, you know, need more information to act on it. And it doesn't, regardless of when the decision is made, they'll know when it's going to the town,
Yes.
when it's going to the county. If we tinker with the format, then if you take away the split meeting, I think what we find is when applications maybe lack sufficient detail, we might be in a position where we have to table a decision, right? And now you are pushing things out.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's agreed.
I guess I'd be curious to see what either Attorney Mills or the Towns Association has to say legally, like, as long as I've been doing this, this is how we've been doing it. And I'm not saying that just makes it right, because that's how we've always done it. But I'm just curious is this illegal, or are we, you know, when we approve the minutes, it may already be approved, it's already approved by the town board probably, and possibly by the county before we approve the minutes. I mean,
It has happened. I'm
yeah,
sure it's
absolutely it's happened. We take action.
Right.
Like, again, the minutes have been like I dottings and T crossings in my experience, so.
Well, tonight we approved the March 15th minutes. So going forward with our 2 items at the Monday night's town board meetings, no sweat.
Right.
And we don't meet again until May. So I have essentially a month to follow up with the town association. I think Jim Mills is our parliamentarian, so I'll just start with the town association and then follow up with Jim, if that's the consensus of the group as to.
I mean,
How
maybe
best to do this.
if you start with the town association and you feel like you get a sufficient answer, great, because again, Jim Mills is not knocking on my door like, why did you do that?
Right.
And I mean, and I've talked to Jim on the phone, but again, I'm sure he's sent a bill.
Yeah.
I mean, I was at the dog park actually when he finally called me back, and I'm like, I'm gonna take this.
Yeah.
But
I don't, sometimes you need an attorney.
and possibly, I'm not saying let's be penny wise and pound foolish. No, not at all. If you don't get a sufficient, you know, something you feel comfortable with, then let's reach out to Jim.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I'll keep the town chairman in the loop on the communication as well. That's Jen, Jen and I have talked about this multiple times already, the ins and outs and keeping the client informed, keeping the citizen informed, keeping the town board and meeting schedules. It's tricky.
Yeah.
It's tricky. But I think this has been helpful for me in terms of your advice to seek professional opinion, and that'll only help the other committees. And really, that's my closing note on it.
All right. So can we add this to the agenda for May, just so we revisit it in May? All right, next item on the agenda is a communication tree. Is this anything we really need to discuss?
No, I just put it on the desks for everyone to just add the information if they would.
Perfect. Okay.
I think initially when Jen and I were talking about, well, if we don't have a second meeting, could we just broadcast something and that we found out we could not do that.
Sure, okay. The only other business I have is, Dave, you're up for renewal. Just want to make sure that you're still okay with being on the plan commission. All right, and Jerry as well, but I'll reach out to her. I don't have to do this in session. I can just reach out for their opinion. Then it's got to go to the town board. So, as well as myself. Joe's only advice is, he said sometimes I might be a little heavy-handed. I said, Joe, come on.
Heavy handed.
Right. Is there any other business amongst commissioners? Or any other, no public comment? I'd take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Thank you very much.